Welcome, everybody, to the Real Dealz podcast, one of the top-ranked real estate investing podcasts for the last 7 years. This is the place to be for investing strategies you can actually use, expert interviews, and, of course, some good old-fashioned entertainment. Now, here's your host for the show, Elliot, the REI guy, Smith.
Going on, Real Dealz podcast listeners? Got a cool show this week. I did the show a couple weeks ago. I think I told you guys about it on another episode. Had some good buddies. Aaron Beal, who's from San Antonio, Texas, has been on the show. Mike DeHaan, his business partner, and my buddy Chuck from Pasco, over here in Tri-Cities with me. We all hooked up in the Real Dealz studio here in Kennewick, and we had a roundtable discussion for almost 2 hours. So we did edit some of it down. It is going to be a longer discussion, but it's really, it kind of plays on the one we had with Jared a couple weeks ago about just being a fly on the wall and listening to, like, how do we talk? What do we think about this business? What are we doing for leads? What are we doing with employees? What are we doing with all these different aspects of the business? And it's really interesting because we go over quite a few things. We talk about machine gun marketing versus sniper marketing. We talk about following up with somebody consistently. We talk about, some mailers are going to have no response. Some will have high response. And you find, somebody might call you months down the road or years down the road from your mailer. And how do you, quantify that in your marketing budget? Each deal is a little bit different. Relationships and building relationships with Lowe's or your Home Depot and things like that. And how do you make that stuff work? So really, really fun. I love doing this. It's like masterminding. So, you guys are really getting to listen into high level mastermind stuff of guys that have done this at a high level and are continuing to do this at a high level and continuing to grow. So I think you're going to pick up a ton of gold nuggets from this. So what's going on with us this week? Whirlwind week. As if you listened last week, I was in New York with a group of people that I got invited to hang out with. A couple of the guys there, they were the principal owners and founders of a company that owns 43,000 rental units in the United States. And they have 4,000 employees, give or take, in their property management side of the business. And so I got to hang out with those guys. Really, really cool. I got to pick their brain on a lot of things. They got gave me a lot of good advice, got some of their phone numbers. And so I played terrible at golf, but I still had a good time. And my key takeaway from that was I'm always trying to get somewhere really, really fast. And I expect to be really good really quickly, but good things take a solid foundation and a long time to build. These guys were talking to me and they're like, yeah, we bought our first complex at your age, Elliot. You're doing really well. Keep rolling. Keep pushing. They told me their first deal they bought, which was actually in Tri-Cities, which was really cool, but they bought it at a 15 cap and the interest rate was 9%. And they had to put $1.2 million into this, down on this deal. And they didn't know how they were going to raise the money and all this stuff. So it was pretty cool. I think it was their second deal, actually. So, it's just times change. But what I've learned from them, and they said, is owning real estate assets as rentals and growing that has allowed them to thrive through every market and continue to take the bumps and the bruises. The only time they lost money when they got into really some speculative things. So, that's what we're trying to do, but we're also trying to build active cash from our other businesses, the development, the fix and flips, and things like the call center and things like that, so that we can put more of our own cash into long-term assets. So I can raise less money because then I can own more of these things. But very, very interesting. And just to listen to these guys talk, and there's different guys from different industries, but the one cool thing that I really recognize is they were all really smart guys. But the one thing I think is they just did it. I talk all the time about just going out and make that phone call, make that door knock, all these things, and just going and doing it. they're not genius level IQ. They just perfected their craft over a long period of time where they got really good at it, and they just kept growing and taking chances and going and building and building and building. And at the end of the day, they had something really cool to show for it. And so that's probably one of my biggest things that I am good at is I just keep going, sometimes way too fast. That's probably the hard part is I go too fast, and Christy's always there to rein me in on the leash a little bit. But, have your blinders on. Don't worry about what other people are doing on Instagram. Don't worry about, watch it to learn things, but don't worry about, comparing yourself to others of where they're at, because everybody's got a different story. And so I think that's really important. Another deal that we're dealing with is we bought the 25 unit a couple of weeks ago. We had, the first third day in, somebody called us because a toilet clogged that was 15 feet down, and that was at 11 o'clock at night. And then now we had another tenant call us with that one that said they had, like maggots in their apartment, but their apartment was pretty clean and we couldn't figure out why. So we're cleaning. We had to put them in a hotel room. They wanted to stay in a $300 a night, nicest hotel room in Tri-Cities. Wasn't going to happen, but that's what their expectation was. Then they just decided that, we're just going to move out. They took the hotel and then we're just going to move out. Well, we're like, how did these get in here? Well, we get in the apartment and there was a dead animal in their closet. So found the problem. So pretty interesting. Pretty unaware how they didn't smell that or know that was there, or know that an animal died. They're on the second story. So little unsure of that whole deal. We had a tenant die in an apartment. I don't know if I talked about this last week, but we had a tenant die in one of our apartments and they didn't know for a couple of days. And then the unit ended up having to have like a hazardous sign on it and all this stuff because he was a hoarder. And now we got to go clean that out. But we had to wait for the people to come get the belongings. But anyway, so that was interesting. So there's just always these issues. It looks really glamorous. People are like, oh, I bought 25 doors and I bought this, or you got these guys, I just closed on 200 doors. Well, maybe they syndicated and they own like 2% of it. That's why I try to always be honest of what percentage we own of these properties, because we don't own 100% of everything, right? And so, we 50-50 on the last deal we just closed. We got 25% on the other 24 unit, third on one of the 8 units, and then we own our singles and doubles ourselves. But it's not always as green as people make it seem to be. The grass is not always that green. So you're going to have challenges along the way, and you ebb and flow. You roll with the punches and you just grind through them and you don't give up. Some days it's going to be great and you're going to be on the top of a freaking mountain, and the other days you're going to be drudging up the mountain to get there. So in a really good book that I would highly recommend that I read early in my career that I really liked was called The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster by Darren Hardy. And I think that book really sums this whole thing up really well, and it can help you if you're struggling with that. So another deal, never enough time in the day. Just vacation killed me last week because I didn't have my phone out quite a bit. And so then just trying to get caught up with everything we have going on, because of course I load my plate with too much stuff. And so it's just never enough time in the day. But the one thing I am doing and focusing on is I'm still trying to be a great dad. So I'm going home at a decent hour. I'm doing the weekends with him. I'll work during nap times or things like that, but I'm trying to be a good dad and a good husband as well. You don't want to neglect those relationships. So anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this week's show. I think it was really good. You might have to listen to it in segments while you're driving throughout the week because it is a little longer. There will no seller call this week. We'll try to get that on next week. But other than that, have a great week. Go crush it. Go take some action. I think that's really the most important thing that you can do is go take some action and go talk to somebody. All right. Here's a sponsor, and we'll catch you guys next week.
All right, Real Dealz podcast listeners, I want to talk quickly about our show's sponsor, Iron Bridge Lending. If you guys have not reached out to Iron Bridge already to talk to them about funding some of your upcoming flip projects, I highly encourage you to do so. I've known the owner of Iron Bridge for a very long time. I personally borrowed millions of dollars from them over the years to do a number of different projects, and I can say without a doubt, they are the best hard money lending company I have ever come across, and that is the reason why they are the sole sponsor of this show. I've had a lot of other companies reach out to me and and want to sponsor this show, but I just won't do it. I feel like I need to be genuine in who we have sponsoring the show, and it needs to be somebody that I've personally done a ton of business with. So I personally vouch for their ability to be the best, hands down, in the world of hard money lending. You won't find better programs, you won't find better terms, and they're lending or will be lending in over 20 states. So chances are, if you're hearing this in whatever state you're in, it's definitely worth it to check out their website, reach out to them, see if they're lending in your state, and if they are, I would absolutely encourage you to do business with them. Another very cool thing to note is that they have a program for most rehabs where you can actually borrow up to 90% of the purchase price. Now, this is given the fact that you are actually buying a deal, which if you're listening to the show, that means you probably are. But if you have an actual deal on the table, they'll fund up to 90% of your purchase price, and they'll even give you rehab funds on top of that, which means that it only takes 10% down to get into a project, which is unbelievable in the hard money world. So do yourself a favor, reach out to Iron Bridge Lending, have a conversation with them, see if they're a good fit for you and for your next project. I can guarantee you that you'll be happy that you did.
What's going on, guys? This is an impromptu fly on the wall podcast that we're just had guys drive down from Spokane. Aaron flew in from San Antonio, and my buddy Chuck here in Tri-Cities. We're like, hey, let's get together for one day, and then we're just like, hey, our podcast is set up, room's set up finally, and we're like, let's try it out. So we don't know if this is going to go online or live anywhere, so we're just going to talk and see what happens. So why don't we go through and say who we are and go from there. Dan?
Yeah, Dan Austin, Spokane.
Nice. And what do you do?
INW Properties, wholesaler, flippers, a lot of buy and hold up in Spokane with my business partner, Mike.
Cool.
Aaron Beal in San Antonio, direct to seller marketing, kind of variety of stuff with flips, holds, whatever.
Development now.
Maybe.
Yeah. Close.
All right, Chuck Sumner. So I'm just wholesale flip, and Agile Property Solutions is mine, and that's kind of what I do here in Tri-Cities, Spokane, and a little bit in Boise.
And a commercial guy too.
Oh,
Got a commercial building.
Nice.
Yeah, been dealing with that the past few days, and the homeless people lighting fires in the stairwell again. So.
Again.
Classic.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't own that anymore.
Yeah, I'm Mike Hahn. I've been in here. I was on here a little while back on your podcast. Dan's business partner. I kind of handle the acquisitions, marketing side of it. Dan handles the rehabs. Yeah, doing wholesales, flips, all the good stuff up there in Spokane, a little bit in Idaho, and looking to expand to other markets out here soon as well. So
Cool.
Yeah.
And I'm Elliot. Most people know what I got going on, but we do flips. We don't really do wholesales, maybe one here and there. We own some multifamily stuff, and we're doing some land development. And then I also own Call Magic with two other partners, a data company, and the podcast. So both you guys have been on the show before, and so this is really just meant to be, we're just getting together and hanging out. I met Aaron and Mike both through Call Magic. They came to us, Mike first, and then you referred Aaron, and we kind of became friends. Personalities are very similar, age range is very similar. And so we just started talking, became friends, and we actually had, this is the first day we've ever met. So, it was, the hug was a little bit longer because that warm embrace felt really good. But yeah, it's exciting to have people around my age range that are just killing it. And then Chuck and I do deals together. That commercial building we were talking about, we owned it, bought it together, and then we just traded some things. So we're not in it anymore, we're in something else. So
sounds like he got the short straw, people lighting fires.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know.
No, the upside I think is better, is really good in that. But it's the time commitment that it's going to take to get the upside is going to be we were spread. The thing that Chuck and I both realized was we're spread so thin on so many different things. We're like, hey, why don't you take this and I'll take this and we'll just kind of do our thing there. So it kind of worked out a little bit better.
Sounds like it might be one of those things in like 5 years. You're like,
That's why I told Christy. I'm like, if we sell out of this thing and he does what I think he's going to do, I'm going to kick myself, kind of like when I sold my stocks or sold Bitcoin or sold whatever, you have something you're like, I should have kept it or I knew better.
Yeah.
But I think it all worked out.
Yeah, you're gonna be all right. You got a brand new building. So
I know,
it's,
right?
it's
Yeah.
gonna be fun.
Yeah, so cool. All right, so this has no agenda. We're just shooting the shit and figuring out, kind of talking about what we do, what's working, and so we're basically going to talk like there's no cameras on us and just have fun. So,
Cool.
Yeah.
all right.
Chuck. So you're the last one of the party.
Yeah.
So you've been doing this for quite a while. You had a partner, Brad, and then you kind of went on your own, and you've kind of been like ebbing and flowing, figuring out hiring this, hiring that. Like, why don't you talk about a little bit like what your challenges have been and like what you've been facing and why this?
Sure. So basically, yeah, I had a guy I started kind of doing this with. I used to, my background's in engineering. I was a project manager for 7-8 years out in the area.
Are we all engineering?
Are we
I guess
really all?
you were ish.
I guess soft
Yeah.
engineer.
we were engineering.
A lot of engineers.
I tested into high school classes when I went to college.
Oh, really?
A math 97.
Don't worry, I did too for the first couple years of college. So it's just kind of the way it works.
I have a high school diploma.
Yeah, that's all right. No,
I wish I could go back and get rid of a few degrees.
Yeah, right.
You know.
But yeah, so I came from, and I just got tired doing the government gig out here at Hanford. So working with my buddy Brad, we started trying to buy houses to flip. Couldn't find any that were decent deals, so then we started wholesaling because that seemed to be where the money was. And then, a year later, I quit and went full time. Brad was supposed to. His job is a lot harder to get if he quits, so he decided he was just going to stick where he was, just because the business does do this.
He's a lawyer. He's a lawyer.
He's a corporate
Oh, okay.
attorney.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
He's like running the head of two. Is he still doing two of them?
I don't know. I think he's just on one now.
He was
but
like head
he's
corporate at like 30 something. Head corporate attorney out at like some big government contracts.
Oh wow.
Out Hanford.
Gotcha.
So it makes sense for him to stick where he is.
Yep.
He's gonna be fine. So yeah, so I did that about a year into it, and then the last 2 years, I don't know, since June of last year, I've been on my own, and just been kind of trying to figure it out. I had one VA that's been with me for a couple years. She's still with me, and then I've got one full-time guy that's salaried, and then I recently hired a PM, so that was great. Hired a PM because I was getting too many projects, and then everything dried up as soon as I did that. So
Yeah, that's how it works.
that's I was like, that's cool. That's just the universe. That's the way it worked, right? So that's kind of where we are now. I was employing cold callers, but yeah, I mean, I was just like, yeah,
Let's get rid of that
I'm bringing
fifth
my
chair.
own, bringing my own. So that's where I am now. I've got 2 cold callers. They're full time. They're mine. And then
They American?
no,
Or
they're
they-
actually South American.
South
They're
American, okay.
Venezuela.
Yeah,
Nice.
there you go.
Yeah,
Nice.
you can hire good, you can hire expats down in South America
Yeah.
that are really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mexico's got good ones. I actually just talked to a guy from Morocco. He had really good English and he spoke Spanish
There you go.
and
that's
French too.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
But
Yeah.
and their pricing was very similar.
Yeah.
But how many Dealz are they getting out a day?
The one guy, I just brought him on, but the one guy's averaging 570-ish a day. That's on a single dialer. I just put him to a double, just because he's finally getting up to speed. I won't go any higher than a double dialer. I don't know. Maybe you guys have had better luck, but
We use a 10 line.
so I mean,
We're getting like
what's
3
the
to
rate
7,
of people
3 to
not
7,000.
just hanging up though? I mean, that's
Yeah,
the thing.
the-
You burn
the-
through data so fast.
Yeah.
It's
The
just-
dialer is a variable speed. So when it starts getting more, it will go from a double all the way up to 10 based on where you're at in the list. So the biggest thing is the downtime that people, like when they hire people themselves, is the downtime that they have and not getting through it. And then not having people in like actual office setting and trying to manage it. Like you can manage it, but we have people all the time that come to the call center and they're like, oh, you're too much money, we're gonna go do it ourselves. A month later, they're like, here, come, can we do this?
Right.
Because like we're really not that much more. It's just the data because we burn through so much data.
That is the killer right there. Is you guys burn through a lot of data, and then they're like, "Hey, it's 3 weeks in. I need 30,000 more leads." And I'm like, "Okay."
So that'd be $5,000, please.
Yeah.
There's good money in data though.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned. Everybody's trying to do their own data system.
I've been saying that's
sell
a
it.
new oil rush for a while,
Yeah.
right? You know.
Yeah.
So everyone just keep, going and putting your phone numbers out there. Elliot will keep making money off you by selling it to people when
Exactly.
you have a distressed property.
So are they? How many people are like? How many leads are you getting a day from?
On average, right now it's 1 to 2. Really,
Yeah.
that's really it. And that was one of the things that we were tracking. So a guy I hired right off the bat a couple weeks ago, he knew how to work the system. So we were keeping track of like their dials, their total time that they're calling, and then the actual talk time. And his was like, on an 8-hour day, he's talking for 5.5 hours. And I'm like, that's just not possible that you're talking to that many people. And you're only dialing like 250
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
I was like, you're just leaving the line open, dude. We can see it.
Yeah.
And so he's like, no, I swear up and down. I was like, okay, yeah. So just canned him.
That's
Got
another
rid of
reason
him.
why we have in office and
Yeah.
in the center with like we have a pod of 10, then we have a team lead, then we have quality assurance between each pod, and then they get bonus off like quality of conversations and like how well they do it. Because like, I mean, they're a million miles away, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I guess with our caller, so we have, we use you guys, call them out for some stuff. Then we have an individual caller, it's in the Middle East. and we just kind of use him through the same data because it's funny. We actually have him like on just like a single line dialer, super cheap. And he gets picks up leads that get missed, and we've been getting decent leads from that. And then we have our, I guess he's a VA technically, Ricardo, but he's like a full-time
lead manager.
Yeah, he's a lead manager. He's a American expat in Nicaragua. You know, worked in real estate for a long time. He's from California.
Nice.
Speaks speaks English.
American?
Speaks, yeah, right.
Speaks American?
Yeah.
Speaks English.
He sounds American. Speaks English, and we have him essentially just do individual calls off of like our niche stuff.
Yep.
Because then the way high quality conversations that he gets.
Same with we have Tony. I'm Tony in Florida.
Okay.
That does that. He's like my leads acquisition guy, and he does the same. Like I'm like, hey, I drove by some. We went and looked at Flip yesterday, and there's like 3 shitholes, and I'm like, send him the address. Go find these guys. Go call them.
Yeah.
And it's like, and he's so good at getting them on the phone. And so I tell people like, you need both. You need the machine gun. You need the sniper.
Yeah,
You need
exactly,
both.
absolutely.
And like, we're just a machine gun for the call center, but you have to have the sniper.
Exactly. We got the sniper, and then we got the guy. I don't know. He's cleaning up bodies in the back. Which is
Yeah, exactly. You got the cleanup guy. You got the guy in the middle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But
The medic.
yeah.
That's interesting. You said Nicaragua. I literally just hired a guy starting Monday that's out of Nicaragua, and he sounds
His name's
full on.
Ricardo.
I know.
Yeah, what's his name? What's his name, Ricardo?
Be all
But
right.
he's
Yeah,
like,
he's gonna double dip. He's gonna sell your
yeah,
leads in
yeah.
Spokane. Oh,
that's
weird. You're
that's
both
the
in
thing.
Spokane.
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah, you wouldn't know him. Walking down the street, he sounds completely American. He's like, yeah, I grew up English, and I'm just like, that's incredible.
Yeah, I hired a few of those. They didn't last.
Well, you just burned through your employees.
Oh, God.
See, after the 7th one, don't you start to think that
You're
look in the
so
mirror.
if you-
I know that I'm
Look
part
at
of the
the
issue.
If you listen to the
They
podcast
the
last week,
problem.
when the guy said, we're talking about marriages, and the guy had been
It's
married
like,
7
once you're
times.
7
Once
lives.
you hit 7, it's not their fault anymore.
Some
They're
people
not the
just
problem.
like the pain, though. They thrive on that insanity.
See,
so.
yeah, I started with training because I'm like so fast. I give them like step 1 and 2, and then skip to 7 and 8, and like don't give them the middle. I'm like, how do you not know this? Like, you can
Right.
teach me anything, and then they quit.
Yeah, so you've been struggling with the cold calling stuff, though? Like, I was like, not really getting a lot from it?
No, I mean, one thing that drove me nuts is like I'd say, hey, I need another caller. I want to ramp this up. Oh, we don't have one available. We will in a few weeks. I'm like, I want it now. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
We've just found that our, like, lead gen has been all, like, people that are, I don't necessarily, like, want to say not motivated, but they're really unmotivated, you know? But, like, there's, like, so much work that goes into them, and, like, the expectations are unrealistic.
With the leads?
Yeah, that we're getting
Yeah.
from calling, right? Because, you know, they're, like, we found that most of them are just entertaining the call.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, they
Yeah, you get a
almost-
lot of the
Yeah.
if you give me more than retail.
Or what they'll do is they'll say, like, yeah, I just said yes, so I would waste your time, and you called back. I'm like, you stuck it to me.
Yeah.
I have my employee who's wasted the last 3 days. Good for her. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so how I kind of explained it though is like, because we have guys that just are ramping up and adding more callers, and they're killing it with those leads.
Yeah.
Like, still is. If like I call Aaron and say, hey, I want to buy your truck, and you're like, well, I don't want to sell my truck, but how much are you willing to pay me over retail? But if I keep talking to you every week, for the next 6 months, and then all of a sudden you have your 4th kid, and your wife's like, you need to sell the truck and go buy a minivan.
Yeah.
Who are you gonna sell it to? The guy you've been talking to.
Yeah.
So it's like we started screening guys or allowing people in our call center is like, you have to watch this training video, and if you can't do this, we don't want you in because the only guys that fall off are the one-man show operations, and so like I just screen for like you can't be a one-man show anymore. You have to have the follow up because the guys that have it, they're freaking crushing it. I mean, but it takes time. You got to be able, like I tell people all the time, you got to be willing to light the first $20,000 on fire, knowing you might not get it back if you don't run through this and continuously doing it, follow up.
Yeah.
It's this whole business.
Yeah,
This is the whole business.
That's any marketing though, right? Whether
Yeah.
you do call,
Right.
direct mail, whatever. We did a deal last month. Went through a record. You mailed the same people 11 times.
Oh, yeah.
And then on the 11th time, it just so happened that the owner we were mailing had some medical issues, and the daughter-in-law picked it up and was like, yeah, he's in extremely ill health. There's squatters in this property. We need to get rid of it.
Yep.
But the previous, 10 times, that wasn't an issue, right? So,
Got to be in the game.
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, we did a mail drop in August, $10,000 mail drop, like a .002 response, literally worse. Then we dropped another 10,000, like it was supposed to be like end of November, early December, and it somehow got delayed. I didn't even know if we dropped the mail campaign because my phone didn't ring.
Yeah.
I literally went to
half
open.
your return mail is still in our mailbox there.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a lot less. There's a lot more mail that still made it, but yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, but then we just sent out the dollar bill mailers, the handwritten dollar bill mailers for some development stuff. We got like an 8% response rate.
Yeah. That's good.
So like I think it's
Insane.
really how you have to like Nobody's figured this out, but it ebbs and flows. Like, it's cold calling works really well for some people now. Texting works really well for some people. Direct mail works really well. PPC works really well. I mean, all these things work really well. The problem is people like, let me just do a little bit of this, and a little bit of this, and then a little bit of this, and then they never do anything consistently.
Well, they don't give enough time to.
Yeah.
Like
When
everybody says
it seems to come and go and be so regional too, because like amongst different groups, I mean, it's like Mike's cold callers, are a lot different than cold calling is in San Antonio, and same with like mail in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Like you get 6% response rates on everything.
Apparently,
Yeah, it's like.
people are just
Or
so
like,
just-
but like some of the internet stuff, which I've done really well with, and you've run Google Ads, and you're like, I didn't get a lead in 3 months.
single
Like,
call,
so
yeah.
it just seems
I'm in
like,
the same boat.
yeah, like every place is so different and goes through cycles too. So it's like, I don't know.
Bing, my buddy, you saw in DFA, he had Bing ads. He said
Yeah.
he was doing Bing, like paid advertising on Bing. It's cheaper than Google. And he's like, I do really well because that demographic of older people is on Bing. They don't like
Because
Google.
they don't know how to change their search.
Yeah, they don't know how to change
So
their
use the
thing.
Internet Explorer.
Yeah.
And so, but he's like, I get a deal. That was a home run deal he got off that one.
Oh gosh, it was like
Wow.
his max offer was like $100,000. He bought it for like 32 or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Like it was one of those that like, oh, did you leave a 1 out of this?
Yeah.
Like, what's happening here?
Wow.
That's crazy.
So there's so many different ways.
Yeah.
But then the problem that you guys can maybe see this too, and like where I'm trying to adjust is like we're in the entry level for the most part of the market, like the lowest barrier of entry, single family residence, entry level market, price point, and like that's where everybody gets started. And so it just like it ebbs and flows with saturation of people like you always know when a seminar went through town, or when somebody's put a new course on, because or somebody bought their whatever training that came out, the new training, and then it's like, who are these people? Then they're gone 6 months later.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like I see it in our meetup, like all these people come in, they're all gung ho, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna light the world on fire, and then 2 meetups later, you never hear from them again.
Yeah, we were literally just talking about that. The meetup in Spokane 2 months ago, there was like 70 people there. All these new people were like, dang, there's like a lot of new players in town. A month later, it was the same like 30 people, the same 5 companies, and like all their staff, and that was it.
Yeah.
It just takes a lot out of you, I think, for people to who don't have that consistency. It's hard to write those checks when you have no like proof of that it works, right?
Yeah, we got lucky.
Yeah.
When we started, we spent a couple $100 and got a deal, and then it's just house money ever since.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah, we were.
I mean, we've made our money back, but it feels weird, right? You're
Yeah.
like, oh, do you want to write another check?
Well, we also
Everybody says keep writing checks.
We also sent our first batch of mail, so we started in March 2020.
Yeah,
so
we did start at a
worst
weird time.
possible time, hit like middle of March, and then COVID happened and the world shut down.
Then you started paying me money 6 months later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, you guys did go for it. Same with Aaron.
Yeah.
But even then, like during all the COVID stuff, there were people that were like, "Oh, we're gonna stop marketing and stop doing this."
Yeah.
And it's like, I
Yeah,
think
there
people
was a
that
lot
did
of that.
well, it was very much like,
I stopped marketing.
"Yeah, you do." other
Biggest
stuff."
regret.
Yeah.
But there was so
Not
much
biggest,
like,
but, I mean,
like there were times where I'm like, I don't know, like and I think it's just like even now when the market's like stupid hot, like it's still like make the best decisions you can with the knowledge you have, and it's like.
Exactly.
I was like,
But it was weird because I got deals then that like I wouldn't get without COVID because like they don't want people in the house and they need to sell and whatever, and like all the iBuyers pulled. So like you suddenly don't have Zillow that like loses money on everything you're competing with, and they're like, we have to sell it to someone like you.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I don't know. It's just like, and then now it's like people are like, oh, I bet you can't get deals now. I'm like, there's still gonna be people that want to sell to
Yeah.
I walked
sell to people like us,
I walked multiple properties this week.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
and it's just, but it ebbs and flows. That's the thing is people can't handle the flow. Like I can go a month without getting good leads, and all of a sudden 1 week I'm walking like 7 to 8 properties and buying 3 of them or 4 of them, and it's just like they can't handle the ups and downs, the momentum swings in this.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people too. I mean, when you're new, you're just looking at it one way. I would need to buy a property. It's like you need to wholesale it or flip it or something, right? The longer you're in the game, the more exit strategies you get. And so
Exactly.
now,
Yep.
like that's what I've been doing a lot more. Is like,
Right.
oh, that property, that's a big lot for that property. Look up zoning. Oh, I can split that in half. Okay, now we may have a deal here because
Yep.
So it's just like constantly looking at new ways to.
It's
I can
honestly
give you
way
full
more fun,
price.
right?
Yeah, it is.
Well, that's like that deal I talked to you about that I got off texting. Like, I go and look at this house. I'm not interested in it. It's like an hour away, and I get there, and like as I'm leaving, he's like, "Oh yeah, we own like 5 other lots with this, and we're selling it all together." now suddenly like, huh, your number kind of makes more sense.
Yeah.
So now it's a thing of like, okay, like, what do I do with it? Like, I turned down an assignment of $70,000 on the whole package because I was like, the more I do with the land, the more money, like the more potential there's there. If I build on it, there's probably the highest. If I sell it individually, you know, so it's like starting to look at some of those things a little more than just like, oh, it's a house.
Do I partner with a builder? I keep the lot. I have the lots. I partner with a builder. He builds it. I get more of the building upside, but I, whatever. There's so many different. Yeah. I think we've talked about.
Yeah, but it's, I don't know. It's always that like struggle. Do I like take like the quick, easy, guaranteed money, or do I, take it down and list it, or do I, draw it out more and
all bandwidth.
maximize that, right?
Exactly. I think that's what it is.
It's all bandwidth.
Yeah.
Like we just wholesaled one in Benton City because it was big fix, and I didn't want to do it for $23,000. Actually, Nathan and I co-wholesale. He brought the lead.
Thanks for the call. Jeez.
Yes. You never call me, so. Anyway, so I just didn't have the bandwidth. I had no friggin' time. I wanted nothing to like. So it's like, take the money. Now, if I had free time and I had nothing else going on, I'm gonna flip it.
Yeah.
So it's like, where's your value, I guess.
Yeah, I think also too, your deal flow as well. 'Cause, I mean, like right now, the flow's getting smaller. You want to squeeze as much as you can out of them if you have the capacity to do so. That's why I always kind of laugh when I see on Facebook people are like, wholesalers are only sending out the worst deals right now. It's like, yeah, because they're the only ones that they can't do anything with.
Exactly.
They're gonna take them down themselves.
Yeah, because it's like if you can do a flip and be done in like 3 or 4 weeks or whatever on like something like cosmetic, like. Why are you not doing that?
There's a guy I see a lot over there. He always comes. He's like, I feel like you just have a really unsuccessful business and you never get any contracts. I was like, we got 6 last month. And he's like, well, where are they? I'm like, I'm not selling them to you because they're all things that I want.
Yeah,
Right?
Exactly.
They don't understand how this game works.
I know, right? Yeah.
That's like my first guy I was selling to. He was buying at the auction, and he would pay whatever. Once I figured it out, he'd pay like whatever I said he needed to pay within reason, right? Because he just needed inventory.
Yeah.
And then you get pissed that I'm hitting him with a $30,000 assignment fee. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. If you don't want to buy it, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
He's like,
Or like,
I'll buy it.
figure out how to get your own deals.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Cool.
Yeah. A lot of guys are just like, I hate wholesalers because they don't have any skin in the game. It's like, do you spend $10,000 a month on marketing? You know,
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it's one thing to go buy a house and flip it and resell it, but
Not only
Yeah,
that, but are you like, spending the exact time following up with it? Are you walking through the weird houses, navigating the title issues, navigating like the weird family stuff they have going on? You probably
You
gotta
dealing with the
figure it
guy
out.
who just doesn't want to show up at closing and doesn't know why?
Yeah.
Just my week?
Exactly, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Or I had a guy this week that it was one of those deals, like he had a couple lots that we want to actually have him to build on for ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we've been looking for lots with view lots, and he has these 2 lots. And it's basically just one good sized lot. One of the lots is kind of weird shape. And he has his house. And so he wanted to meet me at the lots first because he didn't know who I was and he wanted to make sure I was okay. And finally, I'm like, after he kept putting it off, I'm like, I've seen the lots. I don't need to see them. He's like, I just want to be comfortable, and my kids live here, and I just want to be comfortable with having who I know who's coming over. He's like, can I run a background check on you? And I'm like, sure. What information do you need? He's like, just give me your first, middle, and last name, and your date of birth. I'm like, okay, no problem. And then got me in the door immediately. He's like, yeah, I know you. I can definitely know you know what you're doing because you can see all the properties. If they run the search, they can see all the properties I'm on.
Yeah, right.
And so that actually gave me good credibility. The house was very, very unique, and the guy was definitely unique. But yeah, it's just, but like then it's how you structure this stuff, right? So like I went in there willing to pay like a certain price, but like he owns the house that he lived in, and then he owns a lot. So I'm like, well, what if I just buy the lots at what you paid for them, and then we can go, buy the house maybe inflated, right, to a certain extent because cap gains taxes, right, because you 2 out of 5 years. So there's like always ways to like structure things differently that people don't think about. They don't know. They just look at Apple. This is one deal and this is another deal. But no, if I look at them together, or like you were saying, is can I get a lot, extra lot? Like Rudd bought this house last year in Richland, split the lot off, built a duplex into the lot for nothing. Sold it, built a duplex for like $240, sold it for $415. Yeah, and so it's like you gotta, but you can pay retail for that house with that land on there.
Yeah, exactly. If you know that.
Especially if you can split that, like that. When we're going after the development stuff, we're going after, like we actually had a VA go look, pull the map, okay, and they would rank them. So if the house is in the middle of the lot, that's like a lower ranking. But if it's in the corner, then you can I can split the house off. I can still get really good value, most of my money back for the house, and then what is my basis into the land?
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's get into the next level stuff. That's
That's
where.
awesome. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I was thinking we just had one recently with a lot where we're assigning it, but it was interesting because same sort of thing. We're like, oh, we can subdivide it, build a duplex on each side that'll have value. We changed our mind on it 3 or 4 times on whether we were going to buy it and build, and we ended up just assigning it. But we gave a slight discount on the assignment to work with a builder who's going to help us through it, and then we essentially have an agreement with him for future ones to like basically do a partnership sort of arrangement.
JV on any leads we bring him, land leads.
Yeah. So because like he has some building experience, but he's like not like a true hardcore developer. Yeah. So we're basically the way we looked at it is like, well, worst case scenario, we just made a pretty sweet assignment fee.
Yeah.
Best case, it'll open up a bunch of future potential development deals because he has that creative sort of thought.
But is he a good builder though?
Yeah. The couple projects he's built are great, like brand new duplexes. He does a good job.
Yeah.
But we just
But what's his cost though? That's the question.
I think that's everybody's question right now.
I don't know we have a lot to compare it to.
Yeah.
It seemed expensive though.
The difference though is like the builder I partner with is very efficient, and like you got to figure out like go talk to the guys like what's your true build per square foot? What are you at? And then you go to this guy because the good builders really worked hard on their supply, on like what they're paying their suppliers for their stuff.
Okay.
And so like there's a big difference between like somebody just going to Lowe's or it's a normal guy's I'm gonna go pro build and get all this stuff versus the guy that's done this very efficiently and cut every freaking cost.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So what's your recommendation? Like, how do you find that contractor? Because like we're always like going through that, right? And like you could walk anywhere in Spokane and run into a contractor. Like,
well, if they're just you just ran into a contractor, they're not the guy.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
They're not the guy. They're probably
exactly.
building 10 to 20 homes or more because you don't want to go to the big boys because they're not going to talk to you.
Sure.
So the 10 to 20 properties, anywhere from entry level to step up or maybe even halfway decent stuff. Those guys should have it pretty dialed in. I mean, should.
Keyword.
Should.
You can look at, one thing we always used to do is look at their job sites. Is it clean? Is it picked up? Does it look like it's a neatly run operation? Then it's typically a guy that knows what they're doing. Right?
Yeah, that's like Rudd. Dude, I walked through some of his houses that were in every frame of construction and I'm like, this is cleaner than my flips. Like, and it's mid-construction, but it's like everything's done right. And then you walk through other construction properties that are mid-construction and you're like, are they just gonna patch that later or fix that later or what? Or like I walked through
everything started and not finished.
Or like I walked through some new built homes that are listed and they're like dirty, and it's like or like I was walking this $1 million home up on South Cliff, and it was literally on the stairs. The carpet was fraying. They didn't because they didn't put it in all the way like the or whatever. So like there's like little and it's like take some scissors and cut that.
Yeah, right.
Or like the counters were dirty and my guy he's like he has a cleaner come every 2 weeks when it's listed. I mean, it's just dialed.
Yeah, that's a lot of build sites, though, the interesting guys. I mean, the house that my wife and I live in right now is a new build, and the lower level of it was unfinished when we bought it. We basically finished it up ourselves. And literally, so we're getting ready to do the drywall. Some of the insulation had gotten wet because there was no moisture barrier over it, so we basically ripped out the insulation and replaced it. We pulled out the insulation. Kid you not, there was half a Subway sandwich stuffed inside of a cup that they had just put in there and put insulation over and just left it. I'm like, did they do that on purpose? Like, who does that?
I just forgot.
Or
they're hiding it from their boss because they came in.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So everybody wants to move to Texas and buy rentals in Texas, but I've done some research. Like Texas has really high property taxes, right?
I always tell people not to buy rentals in Texas.
Yeah, my wife's friend in our accountability group just bought some fourplexes in Texas, and I'm like, I don't know.
So I think multifamily is probably all right. Single family, it's hard to cash flow. I mean, it probably depends on where you are, but at least in San Antonio, it's difficult. And our property taxes are, I don't know, on the low end 2%, on the high end 3%.
But you were saying they can just adjust them freely.
Yeah,
so you can have a great property.
Yeah, so I had a house I bought that was tax assessed at $40,000-$50,000, and then the year after I bought it, they raised it to $100,000.
Oh boy! Yeah.
So I mean, like literally doubles your taxes, and it's like. It's just so dependent on like, are you fighting your taxes every year and like protesting, and it's like there's also just not a lot of consistency. Like you could have 2 identical houses next to each other, and one's paying $3,000 a year in taxes, the other one's paying like $5,000.
Why?
Wow.
There's no rhyme or reason.
I mean, I've heard our lead assessor talk about how they do it, and he said they kind of put it in buckets of like, an as-is house, a remodeled house, and like infill new build. And then they kind of like assess the condition of them. But I mean, their thing is they like, if you remodel a house, they want to like jack up your taxes.
Right.
If, you know, you're like the family who's lived there for like 45 years, they like, even if as like property values go up, they don't really raise your taxes.
Oh, it's just basically.
So it's, but then it's
Or
like.
if you sell it, do they assess the new sales price? Or
No, so we're a non-disclosure state, so they're not supposed to do that or have access to that. So it's all like outside of your house and what they can see from it. But it's like, I think it's a lot of like what you can get
or
away
permits
with.
that you pull if you pull a remodel permit.
I don't even know if they. Yeah, I don't know on that, but yeah, it's very much like, oh, can we raise it 16% this year? And then it's like,
That's crazy.
if you don't go through like the paperwork of fighting it, like
Yeah,
they
well,
raise it.
well, it's Clark County. They send out the tax thing, and then they're like, "You have 1 month," but then it was like delayed to get you. It's 1 month from when they printed it off, right? And then it's like to file an appeal, and it's like, what?
Yeah,
What?
I know, right?
Yeah, like I have friends who, it's a really slummy like triplex, and they bought it for like 80 or 90 grand, and it's tax assessed for like 260, and they went to like protest it, and they knocked it down to like, I don't know, like 220, and they're like, this thing is not nice.
Yeah.
It's like a non-conforming like triplex, like. But now they're being taxed at like 250 on the thing, and it's like it makes no sense. So I don't know.
That's what it sounds crazy.
It's just kind of like, I think it's on the protest side of things of like, who you get that day, like how their day is going. Or, I mean, who knows?
But you don't have income tax?
We don't.
Sales tax?
We have sales tax.
What's that?
I don't know, like 7 or 8 or something like that.
But so they use the property tax though to fund a lot of their stuff. That's their main fundraiser,
Fuel
right?
taxes are super low, right? You guys have some of the lowest.
Yeah, so, I mean, gas right here. I mean, I remember like seeing it yesterday. I was like, why is it so expensive here?
Well,
I
it's
think our
cheap.
gas is probably like $2.50 or something right now.
It's cheap compared to freaking
Like
like
$2.50.
California.
Yeah, right.
But now I heard Inslee's wants to raise it again.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
We'll have an income tax due here pretty quick.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
it's
No,
gonna happen.
unconstitutional. They struck it down so many times that it won't get through.
What do you get for driving that truck? Get an electric car. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
No.
It won't matter anymore. Yeah.
No. Well, I don't look at gas. Do you look at the price of gas when you go?
I don't even think about it.
I don't even think
It's
about
not
it.
even on my radar. I don't know.
I
Maybe
just
I'm
like
just-
I need gas. There's a gas station. Let's go get gas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's never
exactly.
like, oh, I'm gonna like drive less because
No.
gas is 30 cents more.
Yeah,
it's like what? I still need to go wherever I need to go.
The only time I think about it is if I'm like, well, I'm going to Costco tomorrow. I'll just do it while I'm there because it's the
Oh, yeah.
cheapest and I
Yeah.
get cash back. But if
Yeah,
it's out of
totally.
the way, I'm not going to waste my time.
Yeah. Agreed.
It's fair.
Yeah.
No, Chrissy has this infatuation with moving to Austin, like that or Florida. I want to go to Arizona, but we almost moved to Austin at one point.
Really?
Even though never been there.
You
But
should go spend a couple weeks in. Well, you're in Vancouver all the time. In Portland, it's basically Austin, right?
But you still get some of the benefits of being in Texas.
yeah, I would just come down.
I'm not sold on the benefits yet.
What are the benefits of Texas?
Everything.
See, that's the classic
That's what I'm
Texas
trying to figure
answer.
out,
That's
yeah.
classic. That's
See,
like
I don't
that's
know.
like Trump is bad. Why is he bad? He's bad.
Yeah.
Bad man.
I don't know.
What's good about Texas?
You just like once you live there long enough, you just become one of those people. You're just like Texas is great. I don't know.
This sounds like a cult to me.
Sounds
man.
like a
Yeah,
cult.
sounds like a cult. Yeah, just come, please.
Yeah, right.
We have our own grid.
Yeah.
But we don't
Yeah,
know that
we have our own
Exactly.
grid.
Our own grid. We got barbecue in the back.
We got
Just come on
we
in.
got Joe Rogan now.
Yeah.
kind of a big
Yeah,
deal.
got Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Taxes,
I
lower
know.
taxes,
Yeah.
except for property taxes.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're a billionaire, it doesn't really matter.
No.
No.
Now they get so much subsidies.
Yeah, right.
So, are you gonna do any different markets besides San Antonio, or just gonna keep going there?
I'll probably go somewhere in the Midwest, kind of where I grew up or went to college or some of that stuff.
Where?
In like Central Kentucky, my family's all in Southern Ohio,
Mhm.
which is like, there's no competition there. Like literally, like I have like the #1 at SEO for both of those places right now.
Are you getting deals?
I'm getting quite a few leads.
Did you ever talk to those people that I sent you that random
I
lead?
haven't yet.
I sent you a lead.
Okay, it's also, it'd be like if I sent you a lead like 4 hours away where you don't buy deals.
Oh, I didn't know that. I would have sent it to somebody else. They told me.
I mean, I'll work it.
Oh, it's probably dead.
But-
now. They probably already sold it to somebody else at 10 cents on the dollar.
It's the kind of house that should be sold on 10 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So I'll probably do, more marketing in some of those places at some point where rentals make more sense and there's less competition.
Yeah.
And I have like
I mean-
a level of familiarity with.
Kentucky makes perfect sense. We talked about yesterday. I think that is one state that I literally have not thought about in my entire life for 1 second.
That's how I feel about Washington.
Yeah, I want to forget all about Washington.
Yeah.
We marketed for some guys, because isn't Louisville, Kentucky? But then then you can go across the water. There's another city that is still like one city. Is that Kentucky? Where is it? Where is it? Kentucky? Not Louisville.
Missouri. No.
Kansas City.
Kansas City,
Kansas
Missouri,
City.
Kansas City, Kansas.
Yeah, I think it was.
They're like right
I
in the
don't know.
same.
Yeah.
I think they're taking different time zones as well.
Are they?
Oh,
Really?
gosh.
I don't know. We're all in the Northwest. I don't know nothing about the Midwest.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I just know it's so funny to watch like lead flow from like Midwest to like Texas to West Coast to East Coast, like
Yeah.
from the call center. It's like we started calling for this lady in Ohio, one caller, and she's getting like more leads than people that have like 4 callers on the West Coast.
Yeah, right. That's
Yeah,
funny.
I mean, it's just, it's so different. Like, so I had a lead come in my hometown, and this lady somehow inherited this house, and I offered her like $3,000 for it. And my family's like, "You're gonna buy this house without seeing it?" I'm like, "It'll be a fun experiment for $3,000."
Yeah,
Like,
seriously. Oh,
Did she send you pictures?
No, so actually, I had my dad go look at it. He was like, it was like a field trip for him. He was pumped.
Oh,
But,
nice.
but like, they couldn't get inside, and I'm like, "Oh, it's a structure." Like,
Did you buy it?
no, they sold it to someone else for like $8,000. But,
Jeez.
but I was like, I just feel like for $3,000,
You
like,
can't go wrong.
yeah.
I mean, maybe you can, but
It's less.
it's
than
fun,
most of
like-
all the deals up here.
So we bought a house down in Hermiston, which is just about 45 minutes south in Oregon from here. And I negotiated it while I was in Yellowstone. And then I had my contractor, I said, "Hey, go look at this house for me because I'm gone and just make sure everything's fine." Because my realtor went there and took pictures. So he goes there and he says, "Oh, yeah, I look good." And I'm like, "Okay." I thought we had the discussion about $10,000 to $15,000 in rehab. He's like, "Yeah, sounds about right," or whatever. So it was a long close because they were going to buy another house. And then, so I closed like December and let them rent back all the way through December and took it in January.
Yeah.
So he calls me. I'm like, "All right, so what are we going to do?" Like, we're like 10, 15 grand, right? He's like, "No, 30. I'm like, "What do you mean 30? Like, we're 10 to 15. He's like, I'm like, "You went down here and you went inside the house." He's like, "No, I came down here. I didn't go inside." "What do you mean you didn't go inside?" He's like, "You didn't ask me to." I'm like, "I was out of town. I literally said, go drive 40 minutes and go look at this house and make sure it's good." You know, Charlie, my wife. And he's like, "Yeah, but I didn't go inside." Why wouldn't you go inside the house?
Or
we're-
why wouldn't you be like,
you
"I
didn't
think
tell
it's this, but I haven't been inside"?
Yeah. And so luckily the market, since we held it, we were in it for so long, the market bailed us out. But it's like,
that's the danger
Yeah.
everyone's in
that,
right
like
now.
I have never
right?
we've had deals where it's like we've never lost money, and I'm like, we should have lost money on this deal.
Yeah.
But we ended up making like 36 grand.
There you
We
go.
wouldn't have lost money, we would have been okay. It would just, $15,000 we would have
It's
lost.
like you break
Waste your
even. I
time.
mean, nobody wants to break even.
Yeah,
You're
but-
doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I don't
Right.
I don't do
It's
deals
not
for
worth it.
I don't do
Right.
deals
Yeah.
for 15 grand, so it wouldn't
Right.
I would have made something, but still there was a buffer there, and it's like I'm like, this sucks. Like, but I still never actually ever sell the house. I've never once sat inside of it.
That's the goal.
So
awesome,
in
right?
in
That's
the
awesome.
in my mind, I'm like, okay, we solved that problem. Next time, clarify to your contractor, which you shouldn't have to do. Go walk the inside of the house too, and give me some full assessment. But like, the
Write
whole
a
thing-
whole book of like things you shouldn't have to tell your contractor.
yeah, but like, I felt really good. Like, I never once like physically saw this place.
Yeah.
Like, there's a couple times I was driving past her, and so I'm like, I should go look at the house. I'm like, nah, it's not worth the 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't
Well, nice,
care.
nice about having staff though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
with your span, right? I think you saw a couple of them. You walked them. I didn't see any deals for like 7 or 8 in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's like, hey, remember that deal? I'm like, which one was that?
Yeah, right.
No, I never saw it.
Yeah,
It
right.
feels good.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's like now Chrissy. She handles. So we own own rentals. So we have quarter owner of the 24 unit, third of the 8 unit, and then we're gonna be 50-50 of the new 25 unit, and we have some singles and doubles. But last year, Chrissy and I were fighting about something. Well, I screwed up. We had just bought the 24 unit with our partners, and she had done all this work, and we had our first conference call, and I take over the call like I always do, and we did this, and this, and we got off the phone. She's like, fuck you, I did everything. And you just made it look like you did all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, I shouldn't have done that. So I'm like, how about we solve this by, I don't do anything with rentals anymore. And so she's like, all right, I'll take over the rentals. So I literally know nothing about any of our rentals.
That's
I just go
nice.
buy them
Yeah.
and hand them to her, and then they're yours.
Yep.
And well, I'll help through the rehab stage if we need to rehab it. But then even now she's turning that one over. I don't know how many are vacant, how many we've turned over. I'm like, are we making money on this one in Vancouver? Yeah, we're doing good. Okay, great, thanks.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
But that's what I'm trying to focus on this year is everybody gets in there I have to do everything. So it's okay, what am I really good at? and it's the sales and the marketing and the people side of it.
Yep.
And they're raising money. So like, okay, everything I'm doing the call center, I'm doing the development, I'm doing the fix and flips and the rentals. So like, I'm just gonna raise money. All I'm gonna do is just get them in our funnel, and that's all I do. And it's working pretty well so far. It's like,
Sweet.
yeah. But then we're hiring people to help more. That's the problem.
It's always, yeah, exactly. You're bringing up your costs now, and it's like a fine balance and keep them busy.
Yeah.
That's what we're dealing with all the time because Dan manages all of our rehabs, and so you've spent so much time like, I mean, A, picking up for contractors, and B, you know, just like doing menial stuff. That, like if we had like an intern or like an assistant, you know, it's like they need some light bulbs, whatever, something dumb, but you have to go do it because the contract's going to charge us $70 an hour to go wait in line at Home Depot.
Yeah, just like the little things, you know, that you're just like, we got tenants moving in tomorrow and that's not done. Why is that not done?
Yeah.
You know?
Or just contractors in general.
Yeah.
I had my second rate crew go do our duplex in Vancouver because I couldn't get, my partner Corey wouldn't let me use our crews over there because they were busy. So I took this girl that we were kind of training, you know, Ebony went over there with her, you know her? Okay, so she was our helper over here, and so I'm like, I think you can do this. I want to give you more opportunities to go do this. And 2-1, easy, how can you screw this up? Well, it went over budget and over time. Well, when the tenants moved in, they had moved some things, and they moved the wiring for the stoves, and they wired the stoves wrong. So the stoves didn't work. Literally, hot water heaters didn't work. Like, there's so many things, like, they don't live, like, you have to, like, this is a rental. That's one thing you forget, too, is they don't have an inspector come in here and find the things you screwed up on. Rental, like, when you fix a house and burr it, so, like, most of our rentals at first were, we would live in the house and turn it into a rental. So we know it was wrong. But when you don't live in there, it's like, people move in, the stove doesn't work. That's not good. And then you have somebody go over there and fix it, and then the guy got shocked, and he was like, this was wired so wrong. This is 240, and it's like, or the hot water doesn't work, or this doesn't, and it's like, oh my. So I'm like, you have to live in this thing for like a day, at least like
You really
test
do.
everything.
Yeah.
Because
we've had every single one of those problems you just listed. Not necessarily because of the wiring per se, but like buy a property and the guy's like, by the way, my hot water tank's not working.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Or the oven debacle at 6th Ave. Like, I don't know how many ovens we stuck into that place.
Or, you know,
like-
the ceiling fan.
Just like-
ceiling fan wasn't working, so the guy popped it off and found it had a dead rat that was like blocking the thing from spinning. And we're like, well, I guess we should have checked that. Didn't even think about it.
The best one, our personal house rehab, we have a chandelier because he has a chandelier hanging up in the kitchen, and we're like trying to turn it on. Light's not working. So call my electrician buddy, come over, and you know, I'm like, something's wrong with the wiring. Pulls it down. The wires weren't even connected. He just stuck it up on the ceiling. No, literally, the wires are just like sitting there, like with a cap. Like some of them still like caps on the hot ones, but like just stuck it up there. It's like,
fine.
no
one's
okay,
ever gonna use this thing.
how, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Or
shit, the last house I sold, they didn't move into it for a whole month after they bought it. And I got a call from my realtor, and she's like, hey, the water lines are leaking. And I'm like, what? They're brand new. She's like, yeah, they're leaking. I'm like, they were pressurized and charged for like 2 months. And she's like, well, they're leaking. So tears apart the area where the washer and dryer were, and sure enough, a nail from the siding had punctured through.
Oh,
And as soon as they started using it, that's when it actually started leaking. And so, all of a sudden the water, you know, I sent the guys over there and had them fix that. But as soon as he did that, that opens a whole nother can of worms, because I'm like, get in there, fix this, don't say anything else, get out.
Yeah,
because they're gonna be like, well, while you're here, this, this.
literally same. Not same. So we just closed on that Hermiston deal last Friday, and the guy moves in, but it's sitting. Inspector inspected it, everything was fine. Then it was sitting for like a month, waiting to close. Well, it's galvanized piping, and so the sediment went in, and so the guy's like, I don't have any hot water. And like, so my guy, I'm like, just take a hot water heater down there, which we don't have to do anything, but we're going to. We want a good name. So had my guy drive 45 minutes, take a hot water heater, and he's like, it's not the hot water heater, it's just the sediment's clogged in all the filters and stuff. So you had to freaking go, so then you had to go redo all the brand new faucets for him or whatever. It's just like, freaking stupid. Or we had one that we didn't do anything. The AC was old. They knew it was old though, but it worked when we sold the house. It was like a $7,000 AC unit. It was because it was like up some older one, but it stopped working like a week after she moved in.
Jeez.
And we're like, I mean, what do you do?
Yeah.
Like, you knew it was old.
I know, but it makes you look bad.
Yeah, I know, but it's like, you knew this was old. You had it tested. We had it inspected. Inspection was good. You knew it was old.
Yeah.
There's no.
Our home warranty is pretty standard here.
Yeah.
They're really common.
I don't know. I don't think they did it though.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like in some of those scenarios, it's like worth like bringing up, like, hey, it's like $500 or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
See,
you can
the
walk
way,
away and
like-
not replace a $7,000 AC because you're gonna feel bad.
Especially
right?
because it's
You wanna-
first-time home buyers, right?
Yeah, you want to do the right thing. You're gonna feel bad.
Like I had the CEO of this big HVAC company on that because the guy, my HVAC guy is the one that went and inspected everything, and so it was like, it's always like, I pay him money on the side to do stuff, but it was still official, and
Yeah.
but it's like, frick, we had those guys on, like, what do we do here? The head of the brokerage was on there, like, what are we supposed to do? I don't know. I'm not paying $7,000
Well,
for this AC.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's always one of the issues with flipping houses, though. I mean, you're always going to have those situations. But you get into new builds.
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
See, like, it's pretty standard, like, on our retail stuff that, like, the seller pays for a home warranty. Like, it's written into our, like, state contract, which I don't know if that's normal.
I
Seems
mean,
a little,
it-
like,
it-
conflict of interest-y.
It used to be a little bit more common here until people started buying houses at $50,000 over asking price in cash with no
Yeah.
contingencies.
But even then, like, a lot of times if I'm selling something and someone doesn't ask for it, I'll be like, hey, I'll give you a home warranty. Like,
Oh, you're a nice guy.
for like
It's
$500
$500
and
yeah.
peace of mind. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
We did that on our one flip because we literally bought the house and like so the seller disclosure was
Yeah.
like we don't know because I don't even know if
Everything.
Mike
Well,
had
that's like
walked
everything.
into it.
Yeah,
That's my
it's like,
I never even.
it's like, nope, never lived it.
But
Nope.
like they're like,
Nope.
yeah, we'll do it. Like we didn't do a single piece of work to it. It needed some
Yeah.
work, had old furnaces, and we're like, yeah, if that makes them happy, like they're buying it, you know,
Yeah, it was
straight
like-
from us. Like,
Right.
Full of trash.
Yeah.
Well, we actually blundered because this is how weird the market is. The house was full of trash, okay, and sold it. We cleared all the trash out, and then like 2 weeks later, Dan gets a call from realtor. He's like, "Hey, where'd all that stuff go? They wanted some of it."
Yeah, that was
And we're
what
like,
was weird. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, they wanted the couches. Like, they didn't want the couches. He's like, I know. I'm like, okay, what?
Yeah,
Like,
then
who
they
wants
want like
garbage?
a couch, like a bed,
Yeah.
but there's like some like paint brushes.
Yeah.
Like we, and I was like,
There was no fridge in the house when we sold it, but they
Yeah.
wanted the
One of my
paintbrush.
biggest deals in Spokane was just like that. Where like literally, I bought it, I did nothing to it, and the guy wanted it, and the guy I bought it from went into a senior home, and he basically it was like one day he was there and one day he's not.
Yeah.
So we gave him all his clothes. That's all he wanted. Everything else stayed. I mean, there's still dishes in the sink, and the guy came in. He goes, "I love it. I want it. Can you make sure everything stays?" And we're like, "Yeah,
Absolutely.
He's just like, "Sure, buddy."
Yeah,
And
I
we're
think
around
I
the
could
dishwasher.
arrange
Yeah,
that.
like nothing. Like everything's
Yeah.
still there. There's still got the guys, other stuff in the other rooms. Like I'm just like,
I think the milk's gonna expire.
yeah. I told him, I go,
for
"There's
it."
pizzas in the freezer, So
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
it's like whatever." But
Do you guys have to sell your houses, your flips with fridges in there? Do you put fridges in the houses?
No.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean, people do, but
you don't need to.
normally, like, in Texas, you, like, take your own or bring your own fridge or whatever, which I think is that how it is here?
Yeah, I see people
Most
that
places.
Chuck used
I've
to do
done it. I've done it. Yeah, to half of the houses I've done. It just depends on the house, right? That's for
Yeah.
me. It's
Yeah.
if it's a little tiny house, I don't do it. Like if I'm doing a tiny house, like the Richland houses or prefabs, a lot of times I'll make a pocket for like a stackable washer and dryer,
Oh,
Mm.
yeah.
and I'll put that in there
Yeah.
because those are pretty expensive,
Yeah.
and usually you
Yeah.
have to build it in
$100.
practically,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
other than that, yeah, it just depends.
I do
just put a
sometimes,
sign-
but it's not like standard.
Just put a sign there. This is where the washer and dryer go.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah.
I recommend these ones. It's built to this
Yeah.
spec.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in this market, I mean, yeah, you're right. You don't have to
Yeah.
do any of that.
Yeah, you can get away with nothing in
Yeah.
this sometimes. But
I know. It's always kind of tough because I feel like especially if it's a mid upper tier, most people are gonna want to replace it with whatever they want anyway.
yeah.
So you don't waste your money. So it's almost like you put it in there for show and then you just don't sell with the house.
Did you stage your properties?
No. I've done virtual staging like once or twice, but
Are you a realtor down there?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I mean,
was gonna ask that.
I like list my own stuff, but I don't do any normal retail stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you guys being non-disclosure, I'm like, the only way to really do stuff down there is kind of be a realtor, so you
Yeah.
get MLS, right?
Yeah, if you don't have MLS, PropStream and some other stuff have MLS data now.
Yeah, I noticed that. I
Um,
was like, that's.
Which it was before they had MLS data. Their data for Texas was so bad.
Yep.
And now it's pretty good, but yeah, I mean, it depends on where people get their data, and some of it's really bad. Like, cause I've seen a lot of the like data providers for, at least in Texas, they'll say the sales price and it's like a calculation based on the deed of trust. So they'll just like assume that people are buying with 20% down and they don't. And then someone they're like, oh, well, we had this comp at 250. and I'll be like, I like look it up in the MLS. I'm like, that sold for like $199.
Yeah, that's like
you're just assuming that people are buying
up in Richland.
Yeah,
in Benton
I was
County.
gonna wonder if that's the same for you guys. Like, I don't understand how they get it so screwed up. It'll tell you it's sold for this, and it's not even close.
Well, you always know it's wrong on Zillow because it ends in like some weird like random numbers.
Oh.
But I literally had this lady, I was trying to buy her house, and she's like, "This house next door sold for $267," and I'm like, "It did not sell for $267." She's like, "No, Zillow said it did," and I'm like, "Here's the Benton County website. It sold for $215."
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's the website. No, the Benton County's wrong. No, it's the freaking county. Like it's recorded. This is the deed.
Yeah.
Recorded. This is not what.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't buy that house.
Yeah, I can see where that maybe didn't go well for you.
It did not go well because I'm like, sometimes there's like, let it go, Elliot, just let it go, and then I'm just like, wait a second, you can't be this stupid.
Yeah.
Like, let it go.
That's funny. Yeah, that's tough with the non-disclosure. Idaho's non-disclosure state as well.
Yeah.
So all we can really see is like what it went pending at. You know, so it'd be like it was listed for 300, went pending at 300, but in like Coeur d'Alene, that house probably went for 400.
Yeah.
Well, and
You
there's
know, you
so
can't
so
even
much
say
that
that.
too. Like you'll like look in like in the MLS details and like, oh, well, they made $12,000 in repairs, or like some of that stuff where like
Well, it's-
even the sales price isn't the whole story.
Yeah, right.
But
That's true.
It was weird because I was trying to pull a list in Travis County, so Austin,
yeah,
and like, I went on Data Tree, and as soon as I put the sales date, is when it screwed it up and I couldn't get a list. Like it just killed the whole thing. And then I went to Atom Data, same deal. And then I went to List Source and I was able to get it worked out fine. But it's like, but then never had any issues with like San Antonio or anything else. It was just like that one Travis County deal. It was weird.
oh, that's interesting. Yeah, and it's like what I've seen like county to county data is very different too. Like, because I can pull a lot of tax data or like stuff in the MLS, but like the quality of it, like or what I can pull is like vastly different from county to county. Like, like Bear County where I'm at, like they provide X, Y, and Z, but like this county over provides more information or less information. Or
That's why you need Jimmy. You need to talk to Jimmy. If you don't know who Jimmy is, he's that data. Have you talked to him yet?
I haven't talked to him. I've seen him in the group a little bit, but
He's the reason that Elliot has a data company.
No.
Well, he's the reason that you have a efficient data company with the coding he's done. Or am I still wrong?
No, you're still wrong.
I don't know.
So,
I'll make
give
sense.
it up, Mike.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Give it up. Give it up.
Jimmy, Jimmy got introduced to me from another guy that's was in the DFA, and he was interested because he was building like scraper bots and stuff, and then he also built a machine that can go, because I pull court record data daily, and so then he was actually built a bot that could actually go pull the court record data and then read the PDFs, and then put the information from the PDF that is pertinent to you, like for like a probate or something, you get the name, the address, all this, whatever, and put it in an Excel sheet. And so he built these bots to go do this. And so then we started talking about that stuff. And then he was really good at building like back end, not the front end, like user interfaces, but the back end interfaces of all this data and going deep. And so that's how we got hooked up with that. And then so he's now like, we basically gave him a deal, like anything he plugged into the data company, then he would get some revenue share off of that. So he's doing some of it. Like we didn't need him, but now he's making it. He helped build the API and helping figure out how to get this, because we're gonna be. So the data's a weird freaking game. It's like the wild west. But like, so he was the first one that ran our data scientist test for testing against, like we did the blind test for, IDI data versus our data, and it was a blind test with a gold star data. So he ran that, built this huge algorithm out, this machine that like ran every point like multiple times, everything pinged off to test which numbers were the same as this company A. And then I'm like, that's really cool. And he did it really fast. And then I'm like, what else can you build? What else can you build? And what else can you do? And so
that was like when someone like was talking about the really flow AI data, and he's like, oh, if you let me log in, I can probably like reverse engineer it.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I can only get 70% there. I'm still missing like whatever this last 30% of how they make these, but it was like,
that's really
it was
cool.
like this like Rain Man report that he just like threw together in like an hour, and I was like,
I'm like, we had this guy that uses our call center in Denver, and they have a hedge fund now that wants to buy 30 homes a month with them in Denver at like a 5% yield. It's crazy.
Nice.
So I'm like, Jimmy, there's 6 counties there. Like, can you go figure out which counties you can get in and get all the data and what data we can get, so I have a meeting with this guy tomorrow we need to put a plan together of how we're going to buy 30 homes a month. 20 minutes later, I went through all counties. Here's the code. Here's the, I just wrote this here, and I can get all that. And I'm like, it's been like 20 minutes. He's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, dude, like
Insane,
like next level genius smart. But anyway, so we were working on the data because I've been talking to Experian, which is credit data, and so we're gonna and we're also gonna work with Data Tree, where we're gonna have we're gonna have every property database, and then it will just ping update like nightly updates, and then it will also ping credit bureau data updates and skip trace data, and we'll have this huge massive database. And then we're also trying to figure out how do we tie in court record data, liens, judgments, all that stuff that pings anytime there's something new filed against any property in our database, that it pings it and it automatically shoots it out to anybody that has that service.
Sweet.
So, because most like PropStream, all these things, like it's all delayed. It's really delayed. So I'll get some of this probate stuff, companies that want to use probates, and they literally like have to send somebody to the courthouse once a month to pull probate data. Well, if you're getting once a month and you get the stuff from the first of the month, you're getting a month-old probate data.
Yeah.
So like, how do you get that like real time? And you just have to figure out a way to get the recorded data, and then it's gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But one thing I've learned, I'm not a tech guy. I think, oh, this is easy. Let's do this. Great. Will it be ready like tomorrow? No, it's like we're still in like version 1, and it's like takes so much time to build these things out. It's like so frustrating, but it's like development. That's why I suck at development, because I'm so impatient. I need it to like happen now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, software stuff like that's always people never understand, because that's what I did for a little bit between my electrical engineering career and the stuff I'm doing now. Like taught myself to code and got pretty into that, and was working for a blockchain startup based out of Chicago.
Dogecoin?
Yeah, should have committed more to that. At this point. Yeah, exactly. Ethereum. Yeah. Vitalik, he's my bro.
Yeah.
And like just like the process of doing that, like especially when people sort of find out they're in your world, everyone's always like, I have this idea. Of, like this would be a great app, or like I'm like yeah, but that's either A, impossible, or B, extremely expensive and complicated.
That's what I'm finding out. We're going to spend multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars to build this out. I'm like,
Wow.
how hard is it? You just put some code in there and it friggin' does this thing and it talks to
To
this
do
person.
it right, it's really expensive.
But yeah, that's what I'm finding. Like, we just built, you guys are on Easy Button Leads. Like, version 1, like, it's functional. But, like, just to get from this point to where we started to this point, I'm like, holy moly.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of work. Like, a lot of developer hours on that one thing. It's like, this is pretty elementary.
Oh, yeah.
Like, at the basic level, it's elementary, and then it doesn't work half the time,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, how do you get this amazing, beautiful thing like Batch Leads has done a really good job, or like PropStream, whatever, they're more built out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and they work, like, how much is money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money, but a lot of money comes back out too. 'Cause once it's set up,
Oh,
your overhead doesn't need to be too crazy. And you think about, like, I can't imagine what PropStream makes per month, like revenue on that.
I've never even logged into PropStream.
It's good.
It's really good.
It's good.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though, they're using IDI data.
Do you want my referral code?
No.
My affiliate code?
No, so the
No, use mine.
the problem is they're using IDI for phone numbers. So I had a kid that just came over from Dallas, and I was like, he was pulling all this stuff from PropStream.
Yeah, I've always heard their skip tracing's
Yeah, I don't
trash.
use it for your
but
phone numbers.
Yeah, but like I've heard their other stuff is good, but like there's still all those big guys are all using IDI data. So and our data is better and cheaper than their freaking data.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they don't charge us for data. That's the good thing about PropStream. You basically pay a monthly subscription to use the platform, and then you kind of have unlimited data. Like, if you have 100,000.
so what do you pay a month?
I think we pay
$100 is
$100,
the
$99 a month.
What do you pull? What can you do on there?
So you can pull
10,000 exports.
100,000 exports for that.
You guys must have got a special
No,
deal.
I
I got
understand,
I have
but-
50, and I got a special deal from an affiliate. So you
Oh,
guys
really?
must have got an affiliate. They gave you 100.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
So
We've never
or you're
had
paying
issues.
for it. One of the
Yeah.
two.
Well, so
Yeah,
if you think
no,
about the
it's-
pricing, 100,000, that's really cheap. That's shit data.
But it's still
But they're
a
making-
mailing list.
They're making money on the
I've
other
still
thing.
made hundreds of thousands of
Yeah,
dollars off
yeah.
of PropStream.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some of the biggest guys I know use it.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah,
good
I'm
data.
not saying it's bad, but anyway, that's the idea. But like, how much is it taking to get there?
Yeah,
and like,
that's true.
And I feel like they like add new and good. So like you can look up like multiple property owners and see everything they have.
yeah, somebody was telling me
Like some of that stuff, it's
That's
like
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I use that. I use
Or
this thing. It's called
needs.
lawyer's title it's like for Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Nevada, whatever. But you can do the same thing. You can look at you can just type a person's name in there and see, and it'll pull up everything that's tied to their name.
yeah,
And so
yeah. And that's how this is, and it's like Like, there's literally been people I look up and like, oh, you have 5 other properties we don't know about.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, you see that. You can see they have like liens and judgments on there. You like estimated
Those are-
mortgage balances.
Are those good for your stuff?
They're not bad.
Ours
I
are
mean,
like super hit or miss.
Yeah, so like the numbers aren't necessarily inherently accurate, but usually the fact that something exists is pretty valuable.
Yeah, and then for us, we can just go right to the county.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, we see it.
Yeah, we can, so that's
Yeah,
the
so I looked up one recently and it didn't show anything in prop stream, but there were like 60 grand in leads.
No, really?
Yeah.
So that's the problem though with
But
like
you just never know.
it's not their fault though, like because there's no like national database. Like we
Right.
talked to so Data Tree is First American Title, which is like probably the biggest data title company, whatever.
Yeah.
And so like to get like recorded documents, they want to charge you like $5 a PD like for each recorded document.
That's what PropStream is, I think, right? If
Yeah.
if you pull recorded documents from it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
they're
I don't
probably
ever-
they're probably using Data Tree.
Yeah.
Most of those guys are using Data Tree. Is like Realaflow is using Data Tree. So like that's the biggest, but it's still hard like because there's no uniform deal. So like we had a call today though with CoStar, and that was super interesting. They're freaking expensive, but like they we're gonna sign up, but they literally have guys. They know when projects are in permits. They know what projects are going in the ground. They know they literally call like property owners. They own apartments.com, so they have all that information. Like they have like they're missing some data in Tri-Cities. So if we sign up, they're literally gonna send a team to drive Tri-Cities and get data and then call property owners to like figure out all the information and they'll plug that in there. Like it is.
Are they
amazing.
someone was saying that like for rent stuff, they'll call like vacants and get like, what's the asking price for this apartment that's vacant? And they
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, they have, like,
yeah, because they
people
have
that, like,
apartment.com. They'll call.
they
and
like
they'll be
cold call and like
Yep. They have a
get up to date.
Yeah, because the whole time I'm talking to them,
apartment
I'm like, man, I own a call center. This might, who's calling for you? But they have a team in Virginia that like
Yeah.
literally is a research team, and they're like, hey, we'll go through and research, get all this information for you. Because I'm like, 2 of the properties that the one we're buying and the other one we own here, I had them look them up and they weren't there. I'm like, hey, if we're gonna do this, I need Tracy's data. He's like, don't worry, we'll have it real quick. And I'm like, okay, so we're gonna pay you $1,500 a month for this service. You know, how much would I pay for somebody to go get that data in the first place?
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Plus like all their comps, all their. So I'm like, man, how do we? They built something really good, and the way that like your
Especially,
marketing
like, the
list,
city
like,
stuff like with permits, like I
Yeah.
don't even think our city knows all of our permits.
Right.
and then the marketing, the marketing list you can basically pull by like. So like in commercial, they have maturity dates on like when the balloon payment's going to be due. You can pull your list based by like when it's going to mature, the balloon's going to mature.
That's cool.
You can like segment all these different. I mean, it was dialed.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But the commercial, there's so much more money and there's so much less I mean, that's the thing is you go up level, you can be a lot less deals, but way more,
Yeah, right.
way more target, I guess.
Yeah.
I think one I've heard that's actually really good, Reonomy. You guys ever heard of that for commercial properties?
I've heard it, but I don't
Yes.
know what it is.
Apparently it works really good too.
Is that like just another data platform?
Yeah, for commercial though. For
commercial.
big
Yeah.
commercial. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't done a whole lot of commercials. Haven't delved into that much yet.
No.
Data's the game though. If you can make data.
Well, you really need it, especially in this business, to have an edge. You have to have good data.
You have to,
Timely.
not just data. You have to have good data. And then
Everybody
like,
can get data.
so like our whole idea, I've had this idea since we kind of started this is since we're gonna work with the credit bureau, like you can pull like you can't pull exact credit score, but you can pull like range 1 to 13. So like if you've ever had like I got a postcard like you're pre-approved for X thing for this truck or whatever, or this finance rate, so you can pull that. And so I'm like, and they have all this like personality data, like where do you spend your money, where do you go shopping, are you Nordstrom's or 7-Eleven, and so like actually build like seller profiles, kind of like a Tony Robbins disc profile is what I want. Like we'll have built in. So like you know your high D or your high I or whatever, but we'll have it based on the seller. So you click a button and then you get the super skip data, and it'll basically be like this is their personality, this is where they shop, this is who they are, this is all these things. So then it's like when your sales guy calls them, they know all these things. They're like, how do I handle the seller? So it'll basically be like this is an older seller that has good retirement, good savings, owns these free and clear, and older cars.
This is
As
their
an old
favorite baseball team.
Yeah.
It's their
Yeah.
favorite type
Yeah.
of
Right.
pizza.
Yeah.
You're gonna have so many things in common.
But it's like you go to this person, you don't go fast, quick, let's go. You go slow, build a relationship,
Yeah.
right? Talk to them. Or this guy that's crackhead that just inherited this house, right? They just want cash now. So you can figure out who that person is.
Yep.
Like he'll tell you what kind of car they drive, what kind of car. I mean, one of those houses that I bought over in Vancouver. So I go door knock this guy because I could never get a hold of him. He inherited this house and he lived in Oregon, like in the back country. And I go there, I pull down the driveway, and it's like security camera, beware. And I go hello, honk the horn, you know, trying to get in. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I just, you know, looks like you inherited a house up in Vancouver. Oh, yeah. How'd you find me? And I'm like, oh, just public records. So we talk for a minute. He's like, well, I'm not ready to sell. Call me next year. And I'm like, okay. Call him. He's like, come back. He's like, don't. I'm like, can I call you? And he's like, no, the government listens to our phone calls. Don't call me. Just come show back up. I'm like, shit. Literally, for some reason, I was coming home January 1st from Portland. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to go stop and talk to this guy. Go there, and he's like, I'm like, hey, so you told me to come back by, and he's like, yeah, all right, we can do it. He's like, why don't you meet me out there next week? I'm like, all right. So we go back and meet him there.
The smoke signal.
Seriously, like he worked at a job. I tried to call, like, he's like, you can call my office or my work line, and he worked at some factory or whatever. Anyway, but it didn't work. So we go back there, and the guy's literally, this is pre-COVID, literally wearing like gloves and a mask, and like he was like very nervous of everything. Ended up saying, yeah, I'll sell it to you for $175, but didn't want to sign the contract right away. So we set up title, and I told the title company, like, hey, this guy said he's going to sell it to us. We gave him the contract to sign. Don't know what's going to happen, but just let's have title ready. So he randomly shows up at title one day with the contract signed to my escrow officer. This is why he pays to have a good escrow officer. She's like, hey, well, I got you here. Why don't we just sign all the closing docs right now? Literally got him to sign all the closing docs.
And they already had title clearance.
She had some stuff that was missing, but she's like, can you wait like 15 minutes? She ran all the closing docs and did it all right there. She's like, I'm never getting this guy back.
That's magic.
That's a rock star.
That's why like she's the best there ever is. But it's like this guy was so. She's like, he came in, he was so weird. Like, there's just some weird people you deal with.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like you don't realize it.
Yeah.
But like, I think one thing out of that is like, I still use her to close some deals over here that are weird because like she just has that instinct of like what needs to be done to make sure. Like she's closed the deal with an FHA loan on it in like 24 hours. She's overpays. She overpays the payoff of what she thinks it's going to be, and then she'll reimburse us our stuff. But the guy's like, I need to sell this tomorrow. Okay, we can do that if you need to. Literally, she'll get it done.
That's awesome. Yeah. I know those people are so key. You know, they're hard to find. I mean, I think everyone sort of goes through the gamut of like the horror stories of people screwing up their paperwork, and I mean, I've heard people losing out on deals because like the escrow assistant or whatever will send the wrong HUDs to the wrong people, and people will like see the blind assignments and that sort of stuff. Yeah. It's like, well, that's not a good situation. But
Yeah, there's a few. There's not very many around Tri-Cities right now.
No, I mean, like I said, I use it as an attorney now.
yeah,
I mean,
so do we.
I literally had that $23,000 assignment deal I sent to BFT, and I sent it to one of the new escrow officers that they've had, Dino, who's been there forever. And I'm like, hey, here's the deal. This guy's buying it. Here's the assignment fee. Here's the contract. Everything. She's like, didn't really respond. Like the manager calls me. He's like, hey, they don't want to do it. I'm like, what do you mean they don't want to freaking do it? I'm like, we've done these so many times. He's like, we're not gonna do it. He's like, so he had already called my escrow officer in Clark County, and it's like, hey, can you close this? We'll run title. They're sister companies. He's like, can you close this? We'll run title. And she had, because the agents here weren't comfortable doing an assignment fee. It's like, what do you mean you're not comfortable? It's weird.
Yeah,
like,
it is weird. I've talked to title companies like, yeah, we don't do those. It's just too complicated. I'm like, it's not complicated.
I think they're scared of the risk associated with it.
It's
so.
getting a lot worse. I know, like when I do a few deals in Yakima, the company I was using has now required a notarized form that the seller has to sign that says, you're selling it for this, they are assigning it for this, they will be taking this assignment fee, and then they're selling it to the end buyer for this.
Are you serious?
Yeah, full disclosure, and I'm like, okay, I'm not using you guys anymore, you know,
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
it's really none of the business, but
Yeah, I did see someone on Instagram hear you guys' thoughts last night. So this guy posted his TikTok video, and he's like,
Dude, you're so hip.
"No, it was on Instagram. He had posted his TikTok. I can't figure out TikTok. I've logged on there and I'm like, why is the video still playing? Like, how do I stop this? Like, I literally I don't know what's going on. So, I'm old. I can't figure it out. Anyway, so he's talking about here's my contract. You know, everybody's asking about like, is it cost money to wholesale or all this stuff. He's like, literally reads in my contract. My inspection period is until I close. So if I put earnest money down, I get it. I can walk away up until time of close. And I'm like, that's the shadiest thing.
Yeah,
There's a lot of,
A lot of shady stuff. Yeah.
Like how does like anybody feel like ethically right? Like I'm gonna go tie this house up, but here's my contract. A lawyer wrote this up, and I'm like, yeah, that's benefit. And he's like, sellers sign this. I guess they don't know any better.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're taking advantage of it.
That's like, so the old broker I worked at, they had a deal, and these wholesalers made them they signed this contract that like they can like endlessly extend it for like 30 days at a time or something. Also made them sign blank amendments that they would like write in whatever they wanted on these amendments. Like go ahead and sign these 2 or 3 blank
Price
amendments.
adjustment to $1.
Yeah, it's
Like it was seriously like, and it was like there's no like end to the contract unless like the buyers end it.
Yeah.
Like it was just like,
I literally got 2 calls last year from these people frantically freaking out. Like, hey, we're supposed to close on this house tomorrow. These people are supposed to close on our house tomorrow. And they're telling us that if we don't do like a 20% price reduction, that they're not going to close on it, and then they're going to sue us if we don't sign this. And I'm like, what? Like that's what people are doing, because they're teaching them like, hey, go tie it up for X, then wait the day before closing, then like knock it down. Like,
renegotiate.
I know.
Yeah.
it's just so dirty.
It is. I know I've heard that that's been a common thing in like different, I don't know, influencers. They'll be like, yeah, I literally at the closing table, they'll call the seller and be like, you know what, I don't think I can do this. We got to do a $5,000 price reduction. Otherwise, we're not going to close. And like at that point, they have such a sunk cost bias that they're like, yeah, you know what, we just need to let it go. And it's like, that's not.
That's kind of the reason like why I'm doing this show, is because I think there's a lot of unethical shit out there, and I try to do it the right way. And then also a reason why I'm trying to go upstream, because there's so much, there's no barrier entry, and there's literally so much unethical, like crazy advice out there. That like people just come up fuck all this up.
Well, and there's so much of that, and it's like, okay, like I have a dude that I'm helping get deals, and it's like, yeah, that might work once, but like my plan is to be in this thing forever. Like I'm not going anywhere. Like
well, that's
you can't like call like sellers up and ask for price reductions on every deal. Like if you're gonna be doing this.
Well, it's like a guy I was telling you about earlier, when I'm like, hey, just so you know, I'm working this deal. Like, I'll give you $5,000 if you get come across.
Yeah.
And instead of taking the $5,000 and building the relationship, where next time when he calls me and says, hey, can you take $5,000 and walk away? Yeah, sure, no problem. He decided to go against me, and now he's not here anymore. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like, they don't stick around. So like people are always like, it doesn't work, or it's it's easier. All these like, it doesn't work for me. They don't want to put the effort in. And so, like, I literally have people come through the call center. They're younger couples. I always have a heart for, like, young kids or couples, or, like, Isabel, the younger 19-year-old girl that's out there trying to hustle and make it happen. And so, like, I had this couple come in. They paid $25,000 for a Fortune Builders course. And I'm like, God, can you get your money back? Like, you don't need this. Like, I can show you this. But I'm like, okay. I tell, probably done this to 15 people. I'm like, okay, if you do these things, and I'll figure out what their schedule is. Like, if you work, how many hours do you work a day? How much time can you give to this? Okay. If you will work for 10 or 20 hours a week doing these things, and you get 2,000 driving for dollars, and you cold call through all of them, and you do this, and you do it for 60 days, ping me back, and I will give you another hour for free, and I'll answer any question you have about the whole process. One person has done it, Isabel, one person, and she's actually helping me with my Instagram now, because she's so grateful for me helping her. Yeah. And it's just like, and then I see one of these guys that I did this for, that had a job, and he was like trying to do it. Then all of a sudden now, 2 months later, he's on his Instagram like trying to coach people how to do this.
Right.
And I'm like,
I love that.
Like, what? You're fucking, like you weren't doing it. You weren't succeeding.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, but then you lost your job or something or whatever, you got laid off, and now all of a sudden you're like, now you're gonna go start coaching.
Yeah, they can tell people, all you gotta do is direct mail. Let me teach you how, what I learned from this mastermind course. I'm just gonna repackage that and put that on my Instagram.
Well, really, it is that simple. Like, I mean, really, it's simple. Learn how to talk to sellers, people. Learn how to value properties. That's my partner Corey always says why we'll always be able to buy houses, because nobody knows how to value properties. They don't know how to value deals. Yeah. They don't know how to price them. They'll go tie them up with their contract that says I get my earnest money back up until day closing.
No risk.
No risk.
Only $100.
Yeah, or $10, and people will go, I'll tie it up for $1. You don't need earnest money, $1, put $1 down. And so they don't know values, and then they just get burned out because they don't take the time to actually learn a skill. Like, you think people like get rich in life because they just got lucky, or they didn't learn something, or like actually?
I mean, some people do. Some people bought Doge 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Or like they just made it to the NBA because they just were naturally talented, not that they worked their ass off to get there.
Yeah. It's got to be the right combination. But also, too, I mean, even if you do try to skip that, unless you hire employees, if you've never gone through the motions yourself, you're not going to, be able to sympathize or coach them. I mean, we learned that with our more recent employee. She was doing all of our acquisitions, and she'd have to come with these problems, and we'd be like, oh yeah, we have been there. We know how to counter that.
It's like unethical. Like if I was just like, I've never sold coaching, and it's like I almost would feel unethical. Like I haven't been through market cycles. Like you guys, we're all like, okay, I probably have more experience than you guys do, but at the end of the day, like you're what, 18 months into really, and you've done really well. 2 years?
Yeah, so I bought my first one 3 years ago. So
3 years, but you really started ramping it up in 2020, right? That's when you did your first
yeah.
direct mail. So like
Direct
really started
seller.
going like
Yeah.
direct seller, like just over a year ago. Yeah, you've done really well. I don't know, you've been doing it for how many years?
2-ish.
Okay.
2 or 3.
And we've been doing it for 5. But it's like, even then, like, there's still so many things that we haven't learned or seen. Like, I'm learning something all the time. It's just like, how can I expect to go, teach people on certain things? It's like, but you see people that are like brand new, like just barely doing it, and they're like trying to teach people, but they have a good personality. They're a good collector of people.
Yeah.
Like, they are good at selling people. Like, I would be good in certain things because I'm good at selling. I'm good with people.
Yeah.
But it's like, I need to know more. I feel bad, like, taking people's money, like, thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah, with you have an investment business, it isn't that inherently difficult to get to be mostly hands off, especially if you look at like what a reasonable deal volume is. I mean, so we started plotting out ours. We're doing our goals for like 3 to 5 deals a month. Realistically, all we need to be doing is underwriting them. And you manage the rehab and figure out how to get a good general going and get some good processes going for that, and then you have people that are running the rest of it. That gives you the ability to do other stuff.
Yeah, but then my question goes back to, so then you're hiring all these people, and then your margins just get cut down, and then nobody manages your money the way you would.
And that's one of the things we.
So that was, me, end of last year. Like, I had that month where we did 7 deals, and I had an employee, and it was like everything's great, and then like. I'm like, I'm gonna like quadruple my marketing because like, why not? And then it's like,
I'm just happy I got a piece of that quadrupling.
Yeah, right.
yeah, I was like, oh,
Right.
cold calling, yeah. What do you want, Elliot? And you're like, here's a $15,000 for skip tracing. I'm like, oh, that's fine. Like, it was just like
Money.
But then it becomes a thing where you're like, I just got to the point where I'm like, okay, like one, like I don't want to have to do like X number of deals just to like sustain like
break even,
yeah, like. Because it was like, if I don't do 2 a month, like, I'm like,
You got a big nut. You got to.
yeah, like, I'm not making money.
Yeah.
And then it becomes like, it just became a thing of like, I'm building something that just like stresses me out.
You create
I don't
yourself a job.
enjoy it. Yeah, and it's like a job that doesn't even pay that well.
Yeah.
And then it's
it
like,
definitely doesn't pay that.
but it looks really cool on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
yeah.
That's what Mike and I are always like, is this creating a job or not? And like when you hire employees, inherently that creates a job for you.
Yeah.
Right? Especially if they're local, right?
Yeah.
And having an office and all that stuff and trying to keep that on the.
And it was so
go
much
forward.
like, for me, like, oh, I want to do like 80 deals. And now I'm like,
Is it worth it? Is it
like, who cares if I can do it by myself and do like 40?
I'd rather do 20 really good deals.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Literally, we have a packet sheet that Chrissy built for Lowe's. We use the same thing all the time. We just go through. She'll go through on the first walk with the contractor and be like, okay, how many boob lights do we need? How many light switches do we need? What do we need of this? How much flooring? All that's right in there. We give it to Lowe's. They go price it for us. They give us bulk discount. I get really good pricing with Lowe's. And then we just go, they pull it all, they deliver it all. It's all there. Like, they might have to run for some things, but it's all paid through Lowe's. And then my guys, if they need anything, they just go to Lowe's. We have a card on files, pick it up. Hey, this is for X house. Okay.
Yeah. So you like go to their contractor desk, like you have a contact there, a sales guy.
Yeah, I have their cell phone. Like, it's not even like, I'm buddies with the. You just need to make friends with like the manager there.
Yeah.
And then also once you start making friends with the managers in there, like same with the appliances. Not now because there's no appliances, but where there's deals, like they get overstocked with something, like you can get deals on this stuff. Delivery. I get my deliveries waived. I get like I tip the delivery guy an extra 20 for roofing. So like because they don't want to lift it on the roof. But sometimes they'll take the forklift when they're taking it off, and they'll pull the forklift high enough if you can get it. So you're going to carry up a ladder. So just like tip the guy $20 and say, hey, will you just hold this here for 10 minutes so we can unload it? Then I'll hire some kids, high school kids, to go unload it for $50. And yeah. So like that's the biggest thing. Like that relationship's good because Lowe's has the QSP program where they send it like depending on how much you're spending. Like if you're doing a whole house with them, they go through it and they have like corporate will break down the pricing and give you like cut the margins down on across the board where their high margins are and here's your pricing based on what you're spending. At one point I was getting like 10% above cost and we got in trouble for that and then, on everything, and then it's usually like QSP or 20% above cost, whichever is lower.
So do you do like your entire like rehab, like flooring, cabinets, everything?
Flooring we do it from depends on flooring, but usually flooring, their carpet sucks at Lowe's.
Yeah.
So we go flooring from like a local flooring. Same deal. We just pay like 10% above cost.
Yeah.
Same relationship
Like,
there.
you get cabinets from Lowe's?
Clip cabinets, everything.
Yeah.
They have a cabinet design team. You take them the measurements. Here's what it is. They design it. They'll order it. They'll do the whole thing.
Might
then
be
just-
interesting.
Yeah, we have to look at that. We gotta go to different places, outlets.
No, just go to Lowe's. Especially doing entry level stuff.
Yeah.
Like we put in our remodel for the house we're living in. They had the like higher level cabinets, and we did that for our kitchen. It was great. They're the soft close. They're nice, really nice cabinets. Like now, if you're putting $1 million home together, you're not putting those cabinets in there. But entry level or step up homes, they're perfect. It's funny. Home Depot is more for like the contractor.
Yeah.
Lowe's is more for like the
DIY.
homeowner.
Yeah.
But Lowe's has really good, like, I think they want to build their pro desk, so they're more apt to like give you better deals. They want it because that's where they're losing to what they've told me. Yeah, so they're losing to Home Depot in that segment, the contractor segment, so they're trying to beat them in that.
Yeah.
So like I think like they have their pro desk phone, that I have their number, I have one of the associates, I have all the associates' numbers, I have the manager's number, cell phone number. I'm like, hey. So like I just texted the other day, I'm like, hey, our washing machine, our dryer went out. I'm like, hey, I need a new dryer. Send Chrissy a couple options and then just deliver it.
Cool.
And like, and just send Chrissy like 2 options. She's like, I'll pick that one, and then it's just delivered and it's just charged to her card. Yeah, so like it's a relationship thing.
Yeah.
So once you start being like, hey, here's what I do, here's how many houses I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like I want to start building a relationship. I know this doesn't happen overnight, but like I'm gonna be easy to deal with. Take them a packet. It's very simple. Sometimes the only issue you'll have with them is when they're picking your order. They'll have like their associates, like the associate kids do it, and so you have to really make sure that it's like when you get it delivered that it's correct.
That's right. Yeah.
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 Or which the contractors say that they're the ones that screw it up, but sometimes I think my contractors are the ones that fucked it up.
You think so? I don't know, man.
I've
I
never
don't
heard of
know.
that.
They don't
I
do
can't
that.
imagine.
Yeah.
No.
Or then like also like when there's deals on stuff, since we do everything's the same in every house. Like how you're on your Instagram the other day, what color should I do this? I would never have that question because it's always the same. Like literally, it's always the same.
He's trying to engage his fans. Okay.
He didn't want to be an influencer though.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day,
Love hate.
the countertops are the same. The faucets the same. The lights the same. Everything's the same. So like, they have something extra that we use all the time. Fuck it, I'll buy 10 of them.
Yeah, because you know you're gonna use it.
Yeah, you just know you're gonna have it. Paint. Oh, we ran too much. Oh, that's fine. Let's take it. Whatever.
Yeah. Exactly.
It doesn't matter. Or then like cabinets. A lot of times they'll have cabinets that like somebody will they'll order wrong, or they'll have extra cabinets and they'll like $300, $200 box cabinets. They're trying to sell them for $50 because they're custom or like a special order. They're just like, but like I'm like I can fit that. Like just go fit that in the drawing and just buy cabinets, and like I'll have cabinets stacked up, or you'll get vanity sometimes for like $15-20 and you're like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
I was there the other
cheap.
So you take like somebody who's green to real estate like flipping house, and you're like, go figure out how to do a 25-unit apartment complex. That's gonna be like, it's possible, yeah, but I don't know how many people could like be patient enough to sort of figure all that out without like sort of going over the top. So doing like the smaller stuff, it's almost like forces you to build that patience and that resilience, because you get a little bit of financial backing, you make some money, you kind of learn the processes a little bit. I mean, imagine getting a 25 apartment complex under contract, and you're like, what's escrow? I've never heard of that before. Like,
Well, you would never get it under contract at that point.
yeah,
But that's why I tell
you never
people all
know.
the time, like, okay, you want to learn real estate?
Yeah.
Go find an Aaron. Go find
someone.
somebody that does it. Okay. Before you go say, I want to pick your brain and take you out to lunch. Go say, okay, I know they're buying these flips. I see them on the post on the Facebook group. So I'm gonna go try to find a deal. As soon as I get somebody like that is interested in selling, just call that guy and be like, hey, I have this seller that wants to sell at 70% of Zillow. Will you help walk me through this deal? Nobody's gonna say no. Like, I'll sell you the deal. Will you help walk me through this deal? Like, I tell people this all the time in our groups. Not once, and all of a sudden they'll post this deal and it never sells because it's like they have no idea what they're doing. It's like, but that's the thing is like 99% of people will fail.
Yeah.
At this.
Oh, yeah.
That's what my title of my post is going to be on Instagram yesterday.
Yeah.
99% of you will fail.
Oh yeah.
Because you won't do the things that you think that are necessary.
But I think we've all like done that. Like you guys were talking about that deal that you sold to your real estate agent friend, and you're like, man, we made a $7,000 assignment. Awesome.
Yeah. Right.
But you like weren't upset, and it like
Yeah.
worked out for him. You learned from it. Like
Yeah. I
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
need to close. You need some money to show that this works, and then you like snowball. So like, call me. I tell people in our local group, like, call me. You get a lead. Somebody that's 80 cents, 80% of Zillow. Call me. We'll go to the appointment. You can watch me do the appointment. I'll help walk you through it. You can do as much as you want. but I'll help you and I'll pay you so much money per each step that you do, and I'll buy the house. And it's just like, how easy is that?
Yeah.
Just go find somebody that's interested in selling.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that I think that's the hardest part for a lot of people.